Various methods exist to calculate long-run equilibrium values for exchange rates, and the competing approaches do not always agree on what exchange rate constitutes long-run equilibrium. The box diagram below focuses on two popular approaches to assess long-run fair value. One is purchasing power parity, and the other is macroeconomic balance approach. Currencies that are out of line with fair value are likely to be characterized by one of these four cells. Now let me explain this. When you look at the PPP model, and we are talking about relative PPP, either a currency is overvalued based on PPP or it is undervalued based on purchasing power parity. The other model, which is this macroeconomic balance approach, this says that you can have, if you have an unsustainably large current account surplus. Now, just use your common sense here. If a given country has a very large current account surplus, what does this mean? This means that exports are very high. So, if exports are very high, what sort of pressure do you think this is going to put on exchange rates? Actually, what you are likely to expect then is that the exchange rate is likely to go up. So if you have a very large current account surplus, the spot rate or the exchange rate is likely to go up. What's a real world example of this? You take China. It has a very large current account surplus, so many people predict that the Chinese currency will go up. What about a country that has an unsustainably large current account deficit? Then what can you predict? In the long run, the exchange rate will come down. The question now should be fairly straightforward. If a currency described by cell 2, what does cell 2 say? That you are in a country where there is overvaluation based on purchasing power parity. If there is overvaluation based on purchasing power parity, then what does purchasing power parity predict will happen to the exchange rates? So for cell 2, does purchasing power parity predict that the exchange rate will go up or go down? If there is overvaluation, then purchasing power parity predicts that the exchange rate will come down. If you have a large current account deficit, what's the name of this model? This is the macroeconomic balance approach or macroeconomic balance model. If there is a deficit, then what is predicted, what will happen to the spot rate? If there is a deficit, then what will a country try to do? It would try to devalue the currency so that imports become more expensive, exports become cheaper, and you come out of your current account deficit. So if you are in cell 2, what's the prediction? Both models are saying that the currency will depreciate or devalue. So what's the answer? Pursue policies to encourage currency depreciation. What about if you are in cell 3? Then what do you do? And what's the simple way of doing it? What does the purchasing power parity predict? When the currency is undervalued, according to PPP, then what do you predict? The currency will appreciate. If you have a large current account surplus, what does that predict? That you go up. So here you are likely to expect appreciation. And finally, what about cell 4? Actually, there is, so the question is you expect, but would you follow policies to do this or not? There are two comments I'd make to this. If you look at the possible responses given over here, then all these responses seem to be aligned with pursuing certain policies. And the way I would look at this is, if you are in a country where there is a huge surplus, the people writing this are probably not Chinese. They are probably coming from a US perspective. So what do you think the US government is telling the Chinese these days? Right, so I think that's where this is coming from. Obviously, if somebody chooses not to pursue these policies, we can't do anything about them, but American economists would generally say that these are the policies that need to be pursued. What about cell 4? If you are in cell 4, what does purchasing power parity predict? What does the other model say? The other model says that we'll go down. So what's the answer here? C. Now, for some reason, they have not asked about cell 1, but I'm sure you can figure it out. Okay, the question is there any sense for which model would have a larger impact? Now, in the world of finance in general, and the world of currency forecasting in particular, it is almost impossible to do a good job of predicting. And if you read the introductory segment of this reading in the curriculum, the first couple of pages are focused on how hard it is to predict and how much uncertainty there is with all these models. So effectively what we need to do is just study the models and know what the models say. If everybody agreed that so-and-so model is better, then what would happen? Then this reading would change from 100 pages to 10 pages and just focus on the one model that works. But unfortunately, there is no one model that is unanimously agreed upon as being the ideal model. So what does that do for you? That means two things. If you are learning, you need to learn everything. If you are a practitioner, then you need to figure out in the economy where you are working, which model is more appropriate.